Want to call to order the April 10th, 2018 meeting of the Utilities Committee of Ascension Parish. Would everyone please stand for the invocation? Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Dear Lord, we thank you for this day. Lord, we ask that you give us the strength to remain solace to our constituency and to remain respectful to each other and understand that we all represent people. We ask that you keep your hand and watch close on our law enforcement and emergency personnel that take care of us in our time of needs. We ask this in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please note that all committee members are here except Vice Chair Benny Johnson, who is at work, and we have Council Chair Bill Dawson sitting in. There'll be no chair additions, public comment period. Anyone wishing to speak on an agenda item, please sign in, bring me a card, and we'll give you time to speak when that item comes up. We'll move to agenda item number 5, approval of change order number 1, Mitchell Contracting Incorporated for Herouville wastewater treatment plant aeration diffuser to add $2,400 to the contract. Mr.
So moved.
Daniel.
Second.
We have a motion by
Sadly.
Mr. Sadler, second by Mr. Turner. Any discussion? Any opposition? That motion passes. We'll move on to agenda item number 6, request for quote, Hope Villa wastewater treatment plant aeration improvements, budget amount not to exceed $72,000. Mr. Daniel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members. What we're doing is we're replacing the aeration blower system, some control panel for the blowers, and making additional repairs to the aeration system. So I would ask your approval for this item.
Chair would entertain a motion.
Move to
Just-
accept.
We have a motion.
Yes, second, and I want a
We
question.
have a motion by Mr. Dawson, second by Mr. O.J. Yes, discussion, Mr.
Yeah,
O.J.
Mr. Daniel, this plant here is one of these, is this wastewater treatment plant is one of them that we took over
Yes, sir.
recently in the last couple of years or something?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I just knew this wasn't
Yeah.
one of them I'm used to seeing. Okay,
It's in Prairieville.
all right.
Yes, Mr. Sadler.
Yeah, so Mr. Daniel, to be absolutely clear, the parish owns this asset,
Yes, sir.
and so you're asking for $72,000 for us to install 2 new aeration blower packs to our asset.
Yes, sir.
And that's work is going to be done by wastewater treatment.
Yes, sir.
I'm just curious, is this in my district?
It's right on 73. I'm not exactly sure where you're
I think that's
doing.
in Mr. Lawler's district.
That's Lawless District.
It's on the other side of the airline.
Yeah, the Hope Villa's on the other side of the airline, a little bit north.
I didn't
of
recognize the subdivision.
North
so-
of Oak Grove on 73, and you turn off of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know where it is.
But that wasn't the original name of that subdivision. I mean, that sewage treatment plant. They used to have another name for it.
Hope Villa is all I've ever known. It's actually 2 words, Hope Villa.
Yeah, but
That little area, that community has been Hope Villa since
okay.
I've been around.
So, all right. Good.
Any further discussion? Any opposition? Motion passes. We'll move to agenda item number 7. Approval of professional services contract between MB Design Consultants LLC and the Parish of Ascension to provide design and contract administration services for the renovations of the parish of utilities, the parish utilities of Ascension water plant laboratory and offices, 365 days of design and contract administration services not to exceed $49,125. Mr. Daniel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members. This is, we have a very old building out there at the, Public
plant.
Utilities of Ascension, and we're trying to put in a new SCADA system and make the building more efficient for continued use, and also the possibility that we may have some people have to stay there for long periods of time during emergencies or something like that. And I wanted an architect to come in and give us some plans to do that. So we contracted with, we had MB Design Consultants come out and take a look. He gave us a nice scope of work, and I would recommend approval of the
So moved.
contract.
We have a motion by Mr. Joseph. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
We have a second by Mr. Bill Dawson. Any
I have a
discussion?
question.
Mr. Dawson?
Is there a registered architect? Does MB have a registered architect?
Yes, sir. They're here if you,
Oh, okay. So that's who you represent. I just was curious if they have a AIA architect, right?
yes, sir.
Okay.
Any further discussion?
Yeah.
Yes, Mr.
I
Sadly.
have a question. Mr. Daniel, this company, MB Design Consultants, have done similar work in the past?
Yes, sir. They've
Could you
done
give us
similar
some
work here in
examples of
Ascension
that?
as well. They've done similar work in both Baton Rouge and Ascension that I'm aware of.
So you're familiar with them as a company?
Yes, sir. I've seen their work before.
Okay, and I realize this isn't big money with bids and so forth, and we're just going to be making a recommendation, but nonetheless, how do we come upon choosing them?
I asked around about who would be a good firm to do this, and their name came back to me, so I contacted them and invited them out to take a look.
And it's your opinion that the scope of work and what they're suggesting and bidding on is appropriate in terms of design and, all the other features that are in our packet here?
That's why I put it on the agenda, sir.
Okay. I'm just looking for an affirmative.
Yes, sir.
I realize it's on the agenda, trust me.
I won't bring anything to the agenda that I don't believe in.
Okay. I'm going to remember you said that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Got that, Doc?
I hate to be crude or rude right now. Does that include the last item on our agenda, sir? Because I got a lot to say about that.
Oh, I believe in that too, sir.
Okay.
Okay.
I know you've expressed that before, Mr. Daniel.
Any
Try to be
further-
consistent.
Any further discussion? Yes,
I
Mr.
just
Bill
wanted
Dawson.
I was under the impression this was the MB that's in Santa Mall, but this
No,
is a
that
different.
would be MB Heating and Air Conditioning.
Yeah, okay. That's why I was
We
wondering.
we may need them in the future too.
That would be the past Milton B. Kluwer.
Right.
And, Mr. Chairman, I'm pretty sure Mr. Dawson couldn't say that they didn't work for the parish.
Yes, they
I
have.
think,
Yeah.
if you can name just some of their
Well,
projects.
one building that they did was the DPW West building. I mean, that's something that they did a great job. So you want to see some of the stuff that they did. They have, and they worked with us on several other items. They helped us when looking at the possible plan of doing something with with relocating our HR. They helped us move the DHH that we have from the other building into our current building with doing some plans and some designs there. So they have worked with us considerably before and done a great job.
I guess we're just one more question. We must be looking at changing the outside of the building if we're asking about whether it's in the historic district. Are we looking at changing
Well,
the outside of the building?
No, sir, but I know that I just wanted to put that in there and just to be cautious about it, because sometimes you can't even make changes to the inside on a historic building. So that's one of the first things I wanted to have them look at. I don't know all the rules, but I said it's really old because
Yeah.
I've been in it.
We've been contacted by the city of Donaldsonville
Right.
about some of the things dealing with the exterior of the building already. So they've already talking about some of the exterior concerns that they want to speak with us about in detail. That's why, Mr. Daniel, wanted to get this architect on
Are
board.
you
to
talking about the
discuss.
historic commission or the city of Donaldsonville?
I think there was somebody representing the historic commission who gave me a call, about it.
Probably Lee Malonzo.
Don't put the plastic windows in.
Did they call you, Bill, when you was working, when you was working on your house?
Is that from personal experience?
Any further discussion? Any opposition? Motion passes. We'll move on to agenda item number 8.
I want to note
Yes,
on
sir.
agenda item number 8 that there's a typo. The cost of the contract is 48,000, not 72,000.
So noted.
So what this is a contract with Owen and White, who, if you are familiar with water engineering at all in the state of Louisiana and in the entire South, they are the premier consulting engineering company for water engineering. I contacted Mr. Randy Hollis with Owen and White and asked him some advice on the water plant out there, and I kind of talked him into coming out and taking a look, and then I asked him if he would give me a proposal to help us develop a detailed flow process for the plant, show us where we could improve our capacity, show us where we could change out some equipment that might be helpful, and also write a series of SOPs. I know that the council's been after us to write some SOPs. They weren't really progressing along at the pace that I wanted them to, so I asked them also to put this in the contract as well. I'm very excited about this contract. I think it's really going to help us at the plant. We struggle on a daily basis on valves and meters and which meters are reading correctly and which aren't, and how to do this and that. And I just think this is a really positive step in the right direction. And to have Owen and White come do our work is I think a real benefit to the parish. So I would ask you to approve this contract as well.
Let me go ahead and read it for the public. This is approval of professional services contract between Owen and White Consulting Engineers and the Parish Utilities of Ascension to provide consulting services in the evaluation and operation assistance of water treatment and production of the water plant located in Downsville, Louisiana. 6 months of evaluation and operations assistance, not to exceed $48,000. And one thing, Owen and White is big, I just want to go ahead and say, but they basically have no interest in any competitive thing in that area.
That is correct.
From our
And
conversations with them.
Mr. Randy Hollis is here. If you
Right.
want to have him come up and talk about it,
Yes, Mr. Hollis, can I give you a minute, sir?
Hello, gentlemen. I do appreciate the kind words of Mr. Daniel about our firm. We try to do a good job in everything that we do in water treatment. What would you like to know about us and any possible conflict? I will tell you this. Owen and White does engineering for Ascension Water on the east side of the river. We have no business on the west side of the river.
Right.
As far as conflict of interest, I will tell you that I sit on the board of Baton Rouge Water Company. My CEO was the former chairman of Baton Rouge Water Company and is the CEO of Utility Holdings, which owns those. So, if it was on this side of the river, I would tell you we cannot do any work. We have no conflict that I know of on the west side of the river. And so I'd like to be up front with you and tell you those possible conflicts if it was on the east side. Even today, we were reviewing plans for some extensions to Summerfield subdivision in Ascension on this side of the river. On the other side, we work for Iberville Parish, we work for West Baton Rouge Parish, we work for Assumption Parish. So we do cover a lot of the areas of the state in addition to areas that surround that part of the community. We feel like that we are pretty good at water treatment. We do have several surface water treatment plants that we work in, and we work in a number of others from Tennessee to Texas, as small as 35 customers to as large as the city of New Orleans. We developed the entire transient surge model for the city of New Orleans that looked at water hammer, and you will see right now 2 2-million-gallon elevated tanks going up in the city of New Orleans that came out of our study. It's the first elevated tanks that they'll have in service. They've had an old one, but these are the ones that are in service now. Anything else, Mr. Chairman?
That's it.
Can I have a question?
Yes, Mr. Bill Dawson.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Hollis, as part of your evaluation, I guess, are you going to look at the stresses on the system? So, I mean, we had in the freeze, obviously, some pretty serious stresses, and I'd like to know whether you're going to evaluate the control system or not.
Our study is going to be confined to the treatment plant itself. It is an antiquated plant. And so our goal and the guidance from Mr. Daniel was to help the operations. We're not looking at would we design a new treatment plant per se. But we need to find out, and the first goal of what we're going to do with the 4 people there, I've got 2 Class 4 operators coming in with myself and then another professional engineer. We need to know what the treatment plant can do itself. What's the capacity of the existing plant? Because there is a question about how much can it produce. I will tell you that before I undertook this, I went down and visited the plant. It is an old plant. There are several components in the clarifiers that have already failed. So even the capacity that is stated is compromised already. So the first thing we're going to do is go through the plant and look at each individual component to assess, number 1, what could be the capacity of that component, and then number 2, what's the existing capacity of that component. So we're going to look at its condition and we'll assess it. We'll look at the chemical feed systems. And so from that, we hope to establish the maximum capacity that the plant could produce. And then through the high service pumps to the ground storage and into the system. We do not have the maps of the system. We do not have a computer program of the system to tell you, can we provide water throughout the entire city of Donaldsonville? That would be a completely different study. Our study is going to be concentrated on the treatment plant and its capacity. But that's really a minor part of it. The majority of ours is going to be working with the operators to try and establish standard operating procedures to assist them when they run into problems. A surface water plant can be very difficult because it can change on you every minute. The water coming in is not consistent like a groundwater plant. So we want to work with those operators to try and establish some goals and some guidelines for the different conditions that they could face. For example, whenever we face a hurricane or a high wind condition, one of the things that we stipulate in all of our treatment and all of our systems is that you lock in your elevated tanks full. The elevated tank needs to be full when a hurricane comes in because that's the best condition for that particular tank. A lot of systems don't pay attention to that, and the tank may go half empty or quarter empty or even completely empty, and then it's vulnerable to wind. So those are the type things that we hope to help with the operators to understand when you get into these conditions. Can we do everything? We can't, but we're going to do everything we can within the budget and within the time frame that we have.
So we're going to look at bottlenecks, I guess.
And we have Buchert Horn looking at distribution systems.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman.
okay.
Yes, Mr. Sadler.
Yeah, that might have been at the very, very end, an answer to my question. I was looking at your letter.
Yes.
And it seems to me it deals in P&T, production and treatment. I didn't see the D to distribution. So we're not in this, for this money, going to get any identification of where the leaks are. You're aware we have some unaccounted for water losses in front of this committee. It seems to change a good bit as to where it's going, and I'm not sure any of us really know right now. So we're not going to get any bang there for the buck, right?
I'll be glad to review your production and then your sales and to help establish how you count the unaccounted for, how you account for that, and review that with the utility department. But our job was not to look at that as far as distribution.
Okay, let's talk about SOPs. I'm a huge proponent. I used to run a good laboratory practice lab with a gazillion SOPs, many of which I wrote myself. So, yeah, can you kind of give me an idea of like how many SOPs did you envision? I mean, do we have any for anything right now from what you know about us? Or and what are you going to do? Are you going to just, after you write them, is there going to be any training, any observations for success in following the SOPs by our employees after you're done?
That was not part of our scope to come in and actually come back and train each one of them. We can do that. I really want to concentrate on the money available to develop as many SOPs as we can. But the first thing we have to do is find out what's there and what's not there, okay? And that's to review what's available within the computer system, how many SOPs are already there, and which ones do we feel like need to be developed? What's the most critical? And so I can't tell you right now because we haven't gone into the system, we haven't seen it. So this is an hourly contract that we go into, that I'll be working closely with William on to tell them what we found and where we think we need to go.
Okay, and so I see a list of hourly rates for your company from a senior project manager, senior process engineer, going all the way down to an inspector, ranging from a high number of about almost $200 an hour, $196.60 to be exact, down to like $95.05. You, I think, state in your letter somewhere in here that the man hours that you envision in this project, and then, of course, the price. I think the man hours are $385 and the price is $47,918. Simple division of those two numbers would give us around $125 an hour. So you are the senior project manager or process
Process engineer.
engineer, so you're the guy that makes $200 an hour.
Yes, sir.
So when you get involved in this, it's expensive. When some of the CAD technicians and GIS folks and all that, hydraulic modelers and stuff getting involved, it's half that amount.
Correct.
How did you, at this stage, decide how many hours of each one of those that comes up with this average of 125 hours?
I did a sheet looking at the task I thought each person would handle, and I'll tell you, the certified operators I have coming in, I'm paying $75 an hour. So that's what they're getting paid, so that's why it skewed downward as far as the hourly rates when you did that calculation.
Right. And so, you're familiar, everybody is, the whole world is, with change orders. It's a naughty little word amongst us in the council. What's the chances that we're going to get one or more change orders as we decide, well, you know what, we never thought about this, but this needs to be studied as well, and, you know, here's what we need to do.
I would like to deliver what has been stated and not have a single change order if at all possible.
Oh, I understand that.
Okay?
I just asked you what the likelihood that this committee's going to be asked that, you know, we need another 50, we need another 70 or whatever. Mr. Daniel, I like the typo. It went from 70-something thousand down to 48. That's a step in the right direction.
I'm happy you're pleased, sir.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, I'm trying to be nice because, you know, I was told not too long ago, and this entire council, that everything was running smoothly out there, and now I'm hearing, quoting your words, we struggle on a daily basis. No, I don't want to see you struggle, and I want to see us do better if we can when we have these freezing events and so forth. And I've already said, I'm a huge proponent of SOPs. Mm-hmm. Absolutely a necessity. I don't know how anybody that's doing that kind of work and has the responsibility they have for health, safety, and welfare can work without them. So, you know, that alone, I'm not against that. I thought maybe, though, I was led to believe we were going to be able to do this in-house. If we can't, that's fine. And so that's the admission tonight, and we can proceed along those lines.
I will make one response as far as change orders. Contractors like to bid on work or can bid on work, and regardless of the change orders of a previous job, they can continue to bid on other work. Engineers were professionals, and we can't bid against each other. Owen & White has a tremendous history of working continuously for clients. So we do not like to see change orders. I'd like to think that you appreciate the work that we do, that we almost over-deliver, and that we don't face that situation.
Well, I thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, sir. Any other discussion?
Regarding the SOPs, Councilman Satterley, we could write them in-house, but it would take a lot longer, and having Owen & White come in with all their experience, not reinventing the wheel as we go along, I thought that was a more efficient way to do it.
I agree with you, Mr. Daniel. Any other discussion? Any opposition? Motion passes.
Thank you, Jim.
We'll move on to agenda item number 9. Update task order number 3, GSA initial study of LA Highway 22 area for regional sewage from Hillaryville wastewater treatment plant not to exceed $43,750. We
Second.
have a motion by Mr. Turner, second by Mr. Satterley. Any discussion?
Haven't updated you, sir.
There you go, sir. Give
They're
me an update.
95% done with the model. They're working on the economics and the report there. It's a 60-day contract with 30 days completed. I should have preliminary information for you at the next utility meeting.
So are you looking for a vote on this, or is this
No,
just an
sir.
update?
That was just an update,
Good
sir.
deal. Well, y'all hold your motion and your second. We got more to come.
Mr. Chairman, LSU just won 2-0, so it's no longer a hurry to go home
Good deal. Good deal.
We may catch the next game.
Yeah.
next week.
Thank you, Mr. Daniel. We'll move on to agenda item number 10, Parish Utilities of Ascension Monthly Water Audit Report.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman and members. I found some more water this month. So we have Hartman Engineering out there redoing our SCADA system, and we discovered that the way that it was configured, we weren't reading all of the water that was going to ACUD number 1, and so we have now captured that amount of water, which has reduced our unaccounted for water loss to just a little over 1 million gallons. I did go out and test the meters. So based on the 13 I tested, I got about a 85% accuracy. But I think, but that was really, it's not statistically valid number, by the way, in case anybody's wondering. We're going to test some more meters, but we did find one meter in particular that was not turning at all. So, the customer was only paying the minimum. So what we're going to do now is go back through and look at the minimums to see, check those meters and see if they're working. But, so now we're down to about 1 million gallons of water loss. Happy to answer any questions.
Yes, Mr. Joseph.
Yeah, how many meters you're looking at testing a day, or how long you think that process would take you?
Well, here's the problem, Councilman. We have leaks that we have to fix, and so I can't take them off fixing leaks to test meters. And then they also had to mark some lines for some constructions, so Floyd's pretty much, he's a very hard worker, but we just don't have a lot of time to test meters. So, but we're certainly going to look at the ones that are reading the minimums and go through and test those as rapidly as we can.
Okay, next question is, you recalibrated your water loss and everything. Are we collecting the funds from ACUD 1 to PUA? We are not actually billing ACUD 1 from PUA, but when we go to the next slide, I include that in the cost of making the water. So it'd be like taking it out of the left pocket and putting it in the right at this point, because everybody works to the same goal. So we haven't actually made that accounting journal entry. Okay, and the only reason is that because, once again, ACUD 1 have a debt, and we just want to make sure those dollars are counted in.
Well, the majority of it goes to the jail, and I don't think that they pay us anyway, so.
Well, they pay us, but then, they pay us.
Okay, I'm not 100% sure about that. But,
Other than that, I mean, I'm glad you identified that water loss. That's a
Right.
big difference from the previous month, and that's good to know. Okay.
And I can't promise you that this isn't going to change again next month, because we're out there constantly and we're having trouble with the meters and things like that. But we're slowly kind of wrapping our arms around this, and I'm feeling better about it. I think the plant's running very well at the moment, so everything is, we're in a kind of a easy period. There's not we'll get more stressed in the summer, and then again when it gets freezing. But right now, it's pretty easy going.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Sadler.
Yeah, Mr. Daniel, thank you for the report. I've asked in the past about this water loss business, and if we are making progress, that's great. Sounds like we are. When asking about the estimated customer meter accuracy, which remains in your spreadsheet, that number's fluctuated wildly. It's now 90%.
I've only had it twice, so.
Yeah, I know, once you told me it was arbitrary. What do you want it to be?
It's still
Not what I want it to be, but, so, this might be an oxymoron. I mean, is it less arbitrary than,
Well, it's, I mean, slightly less arbitrary. I tested 13 meters and I got like about an 86% accuracy.
okay, and so you're extrapolating and saying, based on that, if I tested them all, you ought to be somewhere in that ballpark?
I don't think that's statistically significant with the number I tested, that you could make that statement, but I don't
believe it is either.
believe that.
Because, I mean, how many meters do we have? Just thousands?
Well, we have probably about 3,000 of these type of meters. There's 800 that are pretty good.
Yeah, you gotta get in double digits to get,
Why wouldn't you just use the exact, I'm curious, number of at least the 13 you tested instead
Well,
of?
because it was widely influenced by one that wasn't reading at all.
Oh, the one that wasn't turning.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I remember you said that. Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
yes, Mr. Bill Dawson.
Just curious, Mr. Daniel, when you tested these, were any of them high? They were all low.
Right. They can't read high. According to the meter company, they're not supposed to be able to read high.
So has it got to be some restriction on the turbine or?
Right. Usually there's like a calcium buildup or something like that keeps it from reading accurately,
Okay.
or something lodged in there. I'm not 100% sure why they don't, or they just wear out. So, but they're pretty old.
Okay. Thank you.
That's it. Well, William, I just want to thank you for the, we saw this report as it is built, evolve. You continued to bring it up to date, and we saw the numbers, become more accurate.
We're getting better at
So-
identifying all this, and we'll continue to work at it. We don't want any unaccounted for water loss, and we don't want any leaks either. So we're working on it. By the way, I know I told you this, but I kind of want to say it publicly. I went and took the water test. I took I'm going to
For an
take all
operator?
for the operators, yes, sir. I want to see kind of what my employees and my operators have to take. So I didn't have time to take the class, so I just went and took the test. One of the questions on the test was, how often do they come audit you? Every 3 years, so I got that one right. Thank you, Mr. Joseph.
You're welcome, and congratulations on your test, too.
Thank you. 3 for 3. I'm going for the number 2 certification
Yeah.
next.
Yeah, I just want to point out the top two numbers, the volume from own sources and then the filtered water, that you've got a certain amount of loss there, so if you can account for your filtered water.
Well, the volume from our sources in the filtered water, that's one of the places where we're having metering issues. We really need to replace those meters, but I kind of wanted to look at it all. I don't want to just go out and replace one thing. It's the way I used to fix my cars. If something didn't work, I would try to fix that, and if that didn't I would fix something else. I would prefer a more efficient approach to this. So,
Yeah, and I think that's the direction we're going to, bring it to a professional, let them put it on the machine.
yes,
You know
sir.
what I mean?
That's where we're headed.
Thank you, sir. Any further discussion? With that, we'll move on to agenda item number 11.
Right, y'all have been asking me to calculate the cost of water produced at the plant. Now, this is not just the production cost. This is the production, treatment, and distribution cost.
Right.
So this is all of the cost. If you'll see, I have two sheets in here. 2017 for the year end, it cost us about $6 per 1,000 gallons. That's very high. But a lot of that, there's a lot of engineering cost, and you can look and see the cost. If you turn to the next sheet, I have it for January and February, and you can see that we're making some progress. We're down to like basically almost half of a little more than half of what we did in 2017. So we have room to, I think, to even get that down lower quite a bit. I think that the average is somewhere in the $1.90 to $2.20 range. So we have some improvement that we can make. But we do, of course, we're going to be limited by the age of the plant in some respects.
Good deal. Yes, Mr. Sadler.
Yeah, well, here's my observation on it, Mr. Daniel. And again, thank you for breaking it down for the full FYE of 2017, at least the first 2 months of 2018, and then 2018 FYE. I agree, $6 per 1,000 gallons from what I read. Anyone can Google this up. We're hemorrhaging a lot of money. So I think cards are on the table about that, if that figure's accurate. That's your figure. Now, getting it down to 183 in January, that looked really encouraging. But in February, going back up to $4.81 per 1,000 gallons, that's about a 2.5-fold spike. I realize it gives you the average, as you said, of 332 for a full year 2018, which is a little, as you said, over half of the 6 for 2017. And we're overall heading in the right direction. But any particular explanation? I mean, what's going to happen in the next month? Is it going to spike down again, or spike even up back to 6? Or
I don't think.
It's just wildly fluctuating here.
Well, yeah, we only have 2 months, okay? So, and we don't do, when we buy, we might buy some chemicals in February that we did, because we had some left over from the end of the year, so we didn't need them. So we you can see we bought more supplies and materials in February. We had more repairs and maintenance in February. We had, more professional services. We had some engineering services. So those are the things that are driving the cost up. And then one of the things that I'm trying to find out is why the salaries were double from January to February.
Well, I was going to ask you that, so
Yes.
thank you for putting
So
that on the table.
I'm trying to find that out. I couldn't get a good explanation prior to the hearing.
Well, we must have hired a bunch of people between January and February.
Yeah, I don't really see that out there in the field, but
Okay.
I'm not sure what that is. But I will try to get an explanation from that, and when I do, I will email everybody. But I do not know why that is like that.
Okay. So going back to your comment about department supplies and materials from 259 to 2688, January, February, like next month when we see this, are you going to continue to give a report like this, by the way? Or?
Every month, sir.
Thank you, sir. Okay, that's very, very good. Is it likely then you're saying that's going to go back down to more normal because you're not buying a bunch of chemicals, right?
We are trying to adjust the chemicals that we have out at the plant to get it to a more, to buy the amount of chemicals we need to treat the water and exactly what we need. And, we've spent a lot of time with LDH on the tests that we need to run. We had a big meeting with LDH. We're running tests out of an abundance of caution that we don't really need to run for reporting purposes. So we did a lot of things in 2017, I think, because we were unfamiliar with the operations, and I guess it was better to over-test than under-test. But now that we're getting a better grasp on it, and we've got some more experienced, I've definitely got more experienced operators out there. I have 2 4s now. So they're helping us understand, the testing regimen a lot better. So this is going to be, we're getting more efficient, and it's a little bit in flux. It's a work in progress, so to speak. And
Well, the thing about it is, I mean, chemicals, that's really kind of small when you think about it, even some other things you point out, but that salary difference of $35,000 to $64,000 from one month to the very next, I got to assume, unless you can let people go, if they're both real numbers and it stays at 65, then it's still going to be very, very high next month. A lot more than I think the desired goal would be to get it, wouldn't you agree, $2 or less per 1,000 gallons?
I don't know what it can go down to based on the age of the plant. A modern plant may be able to produce water at $1.80. A 100-year-old plant may be able to produce water efficiently at $2.25.
Right.
I'm not 100% sure.
Right.
But that,
those are both-
that salary difference is,
Right.
is unexplainable to me, and I will be with
Okay.
I didn't like.
Well, we'll hold water until we see what happened there, because to me, if there's a big hiring difference and not enough people there, unless you plan to fire a bunch of people, that's going to be in the next report.
It
And
will
it's gonna-
be.
It's going to cause the number from 183 to be,
Well, we also bought $37,000 worth of equipment too in February, so
Yeah.
that's a big difference as well. If you look down at the acquisitions of equipment.
Where do I see that? I see
The second double line
second
at the
double.
bottom.
Oh, okay, yeah, that is a big difference. Because I was looking at equipment above and it didn't seem to be difference between January and
Yeah.
February. You got it in two places.
Yeah.
You
You
guess
got that dock and you got his purchase utility electric all showed up. $7,200 on there. So you got a lot of things that showed up in February, that didn't show up in January.
Yeah, and I know we had electric cost in,
Yeah.
in January. I
Or
was-
either we didn't pay the electric bill in January, we paid it all in February.
Well, and also, as I learned,
behave yourself.
as I learned from the certification test, 90% of the cost of the treatment is from electrics.
Right.
Is that, and also while Randy's at it, he's on a roll, the February 1,074 for engineering services, is that the Hartman work you described, or?
It could be Hartman or Buchert Horn, sir. We
Okay.
have two of those contracts out there. One, they're definitely working on the SCADA, and they're also working on the,
And that's going to be a recurring
Distribution
expense
system.
monthly until they finish whatever their contract is.
I would say probably that they will, as tasks are completed, they may request funds, and it's normally how it works.
Good.
Good deal. I'd just like to say on the salaries that, I don't think you fired that many people or hired that many people.
No, I don't either.
One of us would have heard about it, okay? I think you go back to finance to find out who's charging to the
I will.
account.
I will
That's
find
the
out.
bottom line.
I just
And
didn't have
that's what you
time to
gotta
run
do.
this down prior
Yes,
to the
Mr.
meeting.
Bill Dawson, or Mr.
Let
OJ.
Bill go first.
Doesn't matter. And, I was looking at, is this capital equipment, the acquisitions down here?
Yes, sir.
So, what I'm used to seeing is you wouldn't take that all in one month, so you
Right.
would amortize that or put it across a depreciation schedule, so really, probably that should be
Yeah.
some fraction of what it is. If
Well,
you-
so what I tried to do was, I asked them to do 2017. So we had 2017 for the year. And I said, well, can we do January and February, which we did this afternoon? So I didn't really have time
Yeah.
to run down all of these numbers and see what they were. I'm trying to give y'all as much information as I can to see how this is working. Probably, I could have left this second sheet out on January and February till I tracked down these numbers, but I kind of wanted you to see how we're doing. I want to establish a method of coming in with this every utility committee so we can see how everything is going. So I put this in here. I didn't have time to look at it, but I will massage these numbers and see what they're all about more, and I'll have a better presentation for the next utility committee.
Was it also correct to assume that you'll use this to figure out what we're going to charge ACUD 1?
You might can draw that conclusion.
Okay.
Well, I
Mr.
mean, it
Joseph.
have to be charged. But, William, I looked at the treatment chemical. For 2017, we did over 300,000. I averaged what you did for the last 2 months. Right there, I'm looking at you're gonna save like
We're
$200,000.
going to save quite a bit of money,
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a big cost when we look at it.
right? We're going to
So-
save quite a bit of money. Now, some of the chemical cost was due to the freeze, so, we were used some extra chemical in the freeze, but I think we're going to save a lot of money on chemicals.
And I have one more question. How are we coming along with ACUD1 PUA transition and getting water, the whole system?
Okay,
For
so
the
that
West
is, that, I've tasked that engineering project to Buchert Horn. I brought that contract to you in the previous utility meeting, so they should be working on that.
Okay. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate the update.
I wanted, since we're talking about the budget, I wanted to mention that I have the money in the budget for the engineering and the architectural services. It's not specifically lined item for those services, but I did spend time with finance last week. I do have the money in the budget to do that, so I just wanted to make that clear.
So you're gonna try to stay within the budget?
Yes, sir.
All right.
All right, well, I'm gonna move to agenda item number 12, and I have a speaker on there, Mr. Daniels, so you might have to relinquish that microphone, sir. Agenda item number 12, approval of cooperative endeavor agreement between Ascension Wastewater Treatment Incorporated and the Parish of Ascension to supply certain sewer treatment services in certain impacted areas to Ascension Parish for the health, safety, and welfare of its citizens and the protection of the land and waterways in Ascension Parish. We have a speaker, Ms. Goppel.
Good evening.
Good evening.
This cooperative agreement would be better titled Stinky Business in Ascension Parish. I've read the agreement. Every taxpayer should be as shocked as I am of the waste, no pun intended, to use public funds to subsidize a private business. And every council member should be ashamed to support such a use of public funds. Why is Ascension Wastewater not asking the Public Service Commission for a rate increase for homeowners at Hollows of Dutchtown? Would it be because Mr. Pertwee agreed to provide the service and make necessary modifications prior to the approval when P&Z approved the development? So why would our parish government be reimbursing him and scamming the tax-paying citizens? Why is Mr. Pertwee coming back after the fact and asking the parish residents who do not receive service from AWT at the Hollows to reimburse him for the costs of modifications? Residents who do not live in the Hollows should not have to absorb the cost for Mr. Pertwee to expand his business. Modifications are paid for, and residents are paying him a monthly fee to flush their toilets, $42.50, or at least a gross of $100,000 for the past year. As is typical, the Renaissance treatment plant likely only cost Mr. Pertwee $1 when he assumed responsibility. This CEA requires Ascension Parish government to pay with taxpayer dollars for treatment costs beginning May 1, 2017 for the past year. No less than every 4 years, monthly rate increases will be negotiated. This agreement extends until 2046 or until the parish buys out AWT. And I ask you this question: why not buy this facility outright? This almost $400,000 is not paying to build anything or buying the infrastructure from AWT. So why are we giving Mr. Pertwee $400,000 for improvements already completed and an additional unspecified amount for treatment costs over the last year, since May 1, 2017? There should be no further development along 73 until sewer infrastructure is in place. This agreement will set a precedence to pay AWT for future developments. Members of this council should be breathing down the necks of the P&Z members. Ascension Parish is also on the hook for any and all costs related to non-compliant influent, to include, but not limited to, cleanup, remediation, vacuum truck, dumping fees, testing fees, regulatory sanctions, and assessments due upon receipt, and all reasonable attorney fees and other related costs if you fail to work with AWT. Instead of addressing the wastewater needs of the parish, this administration wants to pay off AWT with more taxpayer dollars, and the final cost to develop sewer in Ascension only continues to increase. And you wonder why the people of Ascension cannot trust you. Development without adequate infrastructure must stop. You are making the people pay for your indecisiveness. The blame lies at the feet of this council. Please paste these comments in the meeting minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Daniel. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members. So one of the first things that they asked me to look at when I got here was this agreement on Highway 73. Let's just talk a little bit about the history of this project. This was a road project that DOTD insisted that a sewer line be built on before they would do the road project. So the sewer was basically built, but it had nowhere to go. My understanding was, and I think this goes back to the previous administration, that they made a deal with Mr. Pertwee to expand one of his existing plants to take this sewer. So we have been working on this agreement for about 4 or 5 months now, going back and forth, and it's now in the form that you see it in today, with one minor exception. prior to this agenda getting put on here, we made a very small change in the, in number I for audit. It doesn't really affect anything in the agreement. It just says that both parties shall have the right. However, Ascension acknowledges that AWT is a private company and that any of the books are only to be audited for this particular agreement, and that any of the we're not interested in looking at any of their trade secrets or any other valuable confidential information. So that is an addition to it. But basically what the agreement says is that we'll reimburse Mr. Pertwee for expanding his plant to take the sewage along Highway 73, and we will pay him for treating the sewage. That provision is in Section 8, which will pay him $3.50 per 1,000 gallons. So that is a competitive price. The cost of building, the amount of capacity that he's given us is also competitive. The parish could not build a sewer plant with that capacity for this for the price that we're paying. So I would urge the committee to adopt this CEA between AWT and the parish. Be happy to answer any questions.
Yes, Mr. Bill Dawson.
So I'll just kind of walk through this, if you don't mind, on the page 1 of 9. This CEA of March 30th, 2015, is that still in effect?
Yes, sir.
What does it call for? I don't have that. Or maybe, do I have this? I didn't see it if I did.
Well, this is the reason that we're using this agreement, the reason the agreement was done like this, according to the lawyers, was that this is a standalone agreement. I think that it was originally to be an exhibit to an existing agreement, but it is now basically, according to our attorneys, for both parties, a standalone agreement that just talks about the area that we delineate in the exhibit for Dutchtown Hollows and along 73.
So we should strike this Exhibit B off of the title?
Well, no, it's still an Exhibit B, but
To what? Exhibit to what?
to some references some previous agreement.
That's the March 30th, 2015 agreement?
Yes, sir. But the information in here is standalone. And I apologize if that's not a good enough explanation, but I asked the attorneys this, and maybe Councilman Turner can opine, but they tell me that this is a standalone agreement.
Well, I'm just really curious as to, we're saying that this CEA of March 30th, 2015 is still in effect, the way I read that. So
That agreement is in effect. That is for another sewage treatment agreement. But
I don't know, maybe somebody else had seen that, but I don't know how that interacts with this agreement.
This is a standalone agreement, and all of the, according to Mr. Hardy and Mr. Fleshman, all of the items in this agreement are confined to the four corners of this document.
I think that was Tim Hardy's in conversation a couple of times. That was Tim Hardy wanted to make sure that this was a standalone agreement, that there's an existing agreement for services back in another administration in 2015.
Okay. So, and I'll go to my next one on page 2 of 9. So we have that they agree the terms set forth, that this document became effective May 1, 2017, which, you know, sounds like we had some high-powered lawyers do this, but, you know, this is,
That was the day the first water was turned on in Dutchtown Hollows. So sewer was actually being put into the system, and so we're going back to capture that.
well, and I figured that, but I'm concerned about the propriety of a predated contract, or a contract that we're gonna approve in May of 2018 that was gonna become effective in May of 2017. I know, like in my business dealings, I couldn't do that.
Well, we discussed that on several occasions, and they said it was perfectly legitimate.
Okay, you go further down on page 2, and when they do the calculations for the capacity, they use 400 gallons per day per housing unit in this example.
Yes, sir.
When I go a few pages over, page 4 of 9, when they treatment cost and payment, they use 250 gallons per day.
400 gallons per day is the accepted LDH for a single-family residence. So that's the way we calculated that, but for the purpose of calculating how much they owed, we only used 250 gallons a day. How much Ascension Parish owed, we did it at 250 gallons a day as opposed to 400.
Okay. If I'm on that same page 4 of 9, you know, 350 per thousand is what we're gonna pay for treatment.
Yes, sir.
I guess I could have extended that out, but normally, you know, I see 10 to 12,000 gallons per month as a residential user.
10 to 12,000 gallons a month of sewer?
Well, to calculate your water rate, so, I mean, that's what they run through the, you know, if you use the 200 or 300 gallons per day times 30 is 10,000 gallons a month.
Okay.
So, you know, we're gonna pay him, or we're gonna pay AWT $35+ a month per customer, if I'm looking at this correctly.
I'm thinking it's more like $20 a customer, or 20 to $25
Like I said,
per customer.
I didn't do the 250, so it's not gonna be it's just gonna be based on this 250 per day, so I'd have to calculate that. Times 30, what is that? Sorry, I didn't. That's 7,500 times 350. $26. We're paying 26. That's no matter what they use. That's what we're going to pay.
No, sir, we're going to pay exactly what's charged. This is to go from May 1st till today, till the time the agreement goes into effect.
Oh, I see.
So once the agreement goes into effect, we're going to meter the exact amount that's being used.
So then we could possibly, what I'm saying is we could possibly be paying 35 or so dollars a month if the
well, we're
10 or 12,000 gallons
but
a month.
it's going to be more in the $20 to $25 range based on normal household usage. So we're going to collect $42.50 over that time period. So we're going to be ahead.
Well, I don't know how much if we're paying him $35 to $40 a month and we're collecting 42.
No, we're not.
not gonna
You're not
pay
going to be paying $35 to $40 a month.
You're not.
Well, if somebody uses 10 or 12,000 gallons a month, how much is it?
Well, if someone's using 10 or 12 gallons a month, that's way past normal household usage. I mean, 400 is the most that LDH says,
Well, that 400 is 12,000.
and that's the maximum, and they're more closely probably 200 to 250 is what a household uses.
Okay, that's all I have.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Joseph? Who's that? Mr. Turner, you got anything, sir?
Well, no, I can go first. Oh,
Well,
Mr. Sadler, you got anything, sir?
yeah, I'm not bashful.
Okay.
Usually, anyway. Mr. Daniel, I agree with Councilman Dawson. I have a lot of problem with the first page where it talks about a March 30th, 2015 CAA that I don't even have in my packet. Let's start with that. And as you now have admitted, it's for another sewer treatment agreement, quote unquote, not obviously increasing the capacity of Mr. Pertwee's Renaissance plant to handle Hollows of Dutchtown and the 80 lots. And now that the impacted area, it looks like in this new latest document, it's expanded to go from the airline highway in my district all the way to the interstate on both sides of 73, which has the 80 lots, but it would also include probably Crawfish Aquatics, especially since we're putting the lift station in and the force main and all that. It would include the hospital, a school that's about to be built right across from the Hollows of Dutchtown, the church that was just recently approved on 73, so forth and so on ad nauseum. The second big problem, and Bill's taken some of the fire already, I really have a problem. We had this at the very last finance meeting, approving something in May, a year after the event, so to speak, has already occurred. 2018 versus 2017, as it relates to page 2 of 9 that Councilman Dawson was talking about. In fact, I've often asked, and I've asked this in the past, and I'll ask it again. Obviously, the day the water was turned on, as you said, these folks have been flushing their toilets. So as far as increasing capacity is concerned, we'd have to either be in violation or the sewer had to be going somewhere. And that leads to the biggest problem I have, in borrowing from my colleague Terry's favorite way of saying things. I really can't get my arms around this one. And that's contained on page 4 of 9 on the F Part D. No one said it yet, but it's the red-headed orphan stepchild, I believe, in the room, that we're going to make a one-time payment of $306,200. Ms. Gupple at least mentioned that, I think, and of course it's been the byline in multiple stories in the media for the last week, including the one this morning that called this whole arrangement a boondoggle, because here we are paying, I think a key word there is for the additional capacity at the Renaissance treatment plant. That's not our asset, but we're using taxpayer dollars. Now, I want sewer for my people in District 4, don't get me wrong. But I wear both a District 4 hat and a bigger council hat, and even inside of District 4, my entire district isn't located right there in that subdivision on Highway 73. I don't know how taxpayers can be expected to pay this money to a personal private asset that's not owned by the parish if you live, for example, in the northern part of Prairieville or Santa Ma, where Randy holds court, Brittany, where Ms. Gupple is from, Geismar, even the city of Gonzales and so forth, in terms of taxpayers, paying that amount of money. Now, I said last time it's a step in the right direction, at least if we're going to, do a one-time payment of an additional $73,500. to AWT, I guess they'll be doing the work for the force main and the related flow monitoring capabilities constructed at our pump station, because we own that, to bring things, I guess, from that side of 73 over to the Renaissance gravity collection system. But I just, this is, you know, we had a modified P1 system. We had a public-private partnership that came all the way to the end and then died at the end. I don't hesitate to add that the gentleman involved in this was part of that partnership and left us at the altar. I just don't know. We've been told time and time again by studies done and reported to this committee by our in-house engineers, Bob Horner comes to mind, and others, that we just can't get in the sewer business without customers. Why aren't we just buying this asset, Mr. Daniel, outright right now, and be able to tell everybody that at least the taxpayer money's going for something that we own, and we're, there's going to be more development clearly on 73. There's signs all over the place now that the hemorrhaging has started for the hospital and Crawfish Aquatics and the church and the school, et cetera. There's signs everywhere in those pasture lands on there, and so each time this is a 39-year agreement. We're just going to hook up to our pipes, and I realize they're pipes that go nowhere right now until we actually go up Airline Highway and connect them to 42 and eventually get us our plant, and therein lies the problem. We don't have the plant. But it's not my problem that the Planning and Commission approved this thing, nor yours, before you were here, and didn't understand that there would be a sewer consequence. And if that 2015 agreement was on another, and there's a precedent there, I don't see what it has anything to do with this particular one, and frankly, it shouldn't have been approved. Therefore, it's, quote, not my problem.
Is there a question, sir?
There's no real question. I just can't support this.
So,
I mean,
I wanted to talk about, you made the statement that somebody in one part of the parish shouldn't pay for other. My experience in Baton Rouge was the people in Baton Rouge had a treatment plant, the North Treatment Plant, for years and years. First they had the Central Treatment Plant, and they had...
But this isn't our treatment plant.
Well, it is a treatment plant, sir.
It's not ours.
Okay, but you would have to build a treatment plant. So when you build a treatment plant, everybody for it, because it's in the best sense of the health and welfare of the community to have.
Why don't we buy
sewer
Mr. Perttee's treatment plant?
Well, that's an option that he doesn't wish to avail himself of.
So then why should we pay him $306,000 to increase its capacity?
Because it's a positive for the parish.
I don't see it that way.
Well, then I did the best I could, sir. I think this is a positive deal. We're making money on it. I think we're going to make about $20 per household. We've got a DOTD forced us to pay, I don't know how much, many millions of dollars for sewer pipe in the ground that's just going to sit there. So this seemed to be an attractive alternative.
So are we making an admission that we're never going to get into the sewer business tonight in this parish, either through a modified Prairieville system or
no, sir.
parish-wide
I'm not
system?
making a mission at all.
Well, this is for 39 years if we execute this document.
And it doesn't have to be for 39 years. You can make it for however long
And when
you
he
want.
goes to sell it to us, if and when that even ever happens,
Well, I don't know why we would ever want to buy it, sir.
wow. Mr. Chairman, I don't have any more questions.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Turner?
I just have one question. So, how much would it cost the parish to build a similar plant?
It would cost probably I went and got some estimates from some people who build sewer plants for a living, and they told me it would cost between $700,000 and $900,000 to build this much capacity.
Well, I guess I got a second question then.
Go ahead.
So, if we were to build a plant, say it's $900,000, and once they do the change order, it's going to be $1 million. So, how much would it cost us to operate it per year after that?
You'd probably have to have two employees, to go by the plant and make sure the chemicals and to take the samples to DEQ and everything. So, and then I'm not 100% sure, but you could probably say with benefits and everything to the employees, you know, $100,000 or more a year.
And my last question is, if we were to build a plant and not do this agreement, at what point, how many years down the line would we be better off building our own plant, financially wise?
Okay, so that's why I said I don't think we would ever want to build our own plant, because, you know, we want parish-wide sewer, and this is pipe in the ground already, and once we're ready to build our line, then we would want to connect this to whatever plant we built, so we wouldn't need the existing plant. So if we built the plant for $900,000, we would never need it again.
I'm done. That was it.
Mr. Joseph?
Yeah. You was talking about how much money we have in the ground currently right now. On 73, we spent $4.5 million. And
I wasn't sure how much of that was, and how much of that was
No,
sewer.
that's only sewage pipe.
Only sewer, okay.
Only sewage pipe. Goes to nowhere.
And
State
all the
required us to do it.
responsibilities that we had, other responsibilities, we had to go with that sewer pipe.
That's
So I
right.
know the state required you to build it. They won't cover the ditches without sewer being in.
That's right. And on 42, we spent $10 million. All right, came out, general fund came out of this parish pocket. Had no other choice, but we got sewage in there. My only concern is, who will collect this monthly bill from those 80 customers?
It's going to be billed by, well, it's going to be more than 80 customers.
Well, I'm just using.
Baton Rouge Water does the billing for us.
Okay,
Then they remit the
Just
money
like-
to us.
all right.
'Cause that's what it's based off, that.
No, we still charging them a flat rate, correct?
Yes, sir, $42.50 a month.
Okay, all right. So,
Which is a good deal compared to some of the other increases.
once again, I just did the numbers, we're gonna make about $1,300 per, household on a yearly basis, something like that. Capacity space, I don't agree everything with the contract, but I know it's necessary that we have to do something. I don't agree with the timeline, but hey, we have to do something. The only other concern I have is the capacity, not problem. I agree with the price, and it was negotiated, it's a good, we have to buy capacity unless we build our plant. Doc made a similar, the question was, well, we bought capacity space with Downsonville. Whoever you go with anywhere, public, private, if they own it and their facility, they just not gonna give you their capacity space. They gonna sell it to you. So, it's just like if we have it, we gonna sell it to somebody. Because if the shoe's on the other foot and Mr. AWT wanted, we gonna sell that capacity space to him. We not just gonna give it to him. Because we invested our own money in it. So, for me, this been a long process and everything. It's the best deal that I see that we can come out with, because this deal was cut. I won't say cut. It was agreed on and just processed with it. We should have told the developer, hey, build your own sewage treatment plant. But we didn't do that because we said we was gonna provide them sewage. And we didn't, like Doc said, that wasn't a good decision at that time, knowing that we didn't have it. So that's where we are.
And I can't disagree with that. I'm a big proponent. If you don't have the infrastructure, you shouldn't be building, but they're built, and I'm not sure what you do at this point.
But when you look at it, it's a pretty fair deal to me.
Thank you, sir. William, we vetted this thing for a long time. I just want to bring everybody on the committee up to speed with the fact that this is a deal that had been in the making since 2015, okay, under a prior administration.
Not this deal. This deal's never been
No,
making
not this
2015.
deal.
Thank you.
But the deal with treatment, okay? And that's what they're referring to, the other agreement. And should we get this out of this committee tonight, of course, going to the council, we would want to see the copy of the prior agreement and have the legal explain to us. Have
I can
Hardy
have
and them
Mr. Hardy at the,
to come here and explain to us at a council meeting.
and
Should
in all
this get out of this
transparency,
committee
I will
tonight.
not be at the Thursday council meeting. I have something planned that I cannot change.
Have your best representative. But anyway, so what we did is this has been vetted and we got the best cost per gallon that we can get. And Williams researched just to death. We have the option to get out of this should we build any treatment plant. The modification we're asking to do, that we're contracting to do, is things that we can use in the future. All right? Is this the way
The
we?
time period, I asked about the 39 years, Mr. Chairman, and
Yeah.
they told me that language was in there for some legal reason, and I wish Mr. Hardy was here to explain it to you, but
He had
will
said
be.
that one time in a meeting, okay? But he also said that we could get out of this deal if we got.
We can,
That's right, bottom line,
yes, sir.
all right? So we got some customers out there and we got a responsibility toward the customers, okay? And so this has been dragging on and on. Is this the way we want to develop a sewer system? No, but y'all have heard me say 100 times in here, we're in this business whether we like it or not. And we've got to take care of this deal, take care of something here, and get this squared away on those customers we have in front of us. And I think the customers are getting a decent deal. We are poised to put some money away in the bank on this in the long term. Yes, Mr. Dawson.
Sorry, I'm kind of late to this, but these customers, what is it, 200 and something right now that are connected up here?
I don't have an accurate count as of today, how many are connected, sir. But
So
we could have
whose
up to,
customers are they? And
they're the parish's customers.
They're our customers.
and so we've been collecting for how long from them?
Well, we actually haven't been
We
collecting
haven't
because we
been
didn't have an agreement.
We have not been collecting from these customers. This company has been furnishing a service, did a revision, modification to their plant,
It's $100,000.
furnished these customers, okay, and been furnishing service to these customers, and they're our customers.
We're writing a letter
But
to
they've been
all-
paid for that, and so that's the $100,000 Ms. Gupple has referred to. In other words, AWT has taken that money in, whatever they charge monthly.
They
for
haven't
the-
collected any money,
No,
sir.
they haven't collected anything.
So
from
how have
them.
these people been flushing their toilets for the last year?
Free.
Where's it
Free.
going?
For free.
Where's
For
it
free.
going?
It's going to the treatment plant.
Going to
Whose
his treatment plant?
Mr.
And he hasn't billed them a
AWT's.
penny for it.
They're not his
doesn't-
customers to
he
bill.
doesn't have the ability
They're our
to bill 'em.
customers.
I'm asking.
He doesn't have the ability to bill them.
So they've
They're
just been.
our customers to bill, so they have not been billed yet at this date.
And how about the 80 lots that now
They
we're
have
going
not been billed.
That's right.
Okay, so tomorrow in my district, I'm going to have 80 wet hens call me and their husbands saying, I never got a bill before, and now all of a sudden I got a bill. Why are you picking on me instead of everybody else?
We're gonna
everybody else is paying.
We're gonna write a letter to every person who's connected and tell them.
You just said
that
they weren't paying for the last year.
No,
They're not- they
not
haven't been
everybody.
paying.
Everybody else that's getting sewer somewhere else is paying. I'm talking.
Not me.
this-
We're writing a letter to
I
all
don't
of
pay
the
a dime
customers.
every month. I mean,
We're writing
I
a
have
letter-
a MoDad treatment system.
Yeah,
I'm having
Okay, I
the
understand
parish
your
attorney
point.
write a letter to all the customers.
Yeah.
And explaining to them that they haven't been paying and that we're gonna back bill them for the sewer services. And if they need to pay it off over time, we will allow that. But we, as a parish, we cannot give away.
We have
services.
the right to back bill these people that have used this service for nothing for a full year.
Yes, sir.
So what is that gonna be? $500
Just
or
happens to be in my
$600?
district. This is just incredible. So again, let's answer some of these questions that Ms. Gupple put forward. How in the heck?
Well,
did
I
we-
was asking these questions.
But I mean, how did we approve this thing?
Who got the floor, Mr. Chairman?
That's all, I'm joking with
Mr.
you.
Dawson, you got the floor, sir.
Go ahead.
You
joking.
wish to
I'm joking
relinquish
with
or what? Go ahead.
I really only had one more, which was, just tell me in plain English, what happens if we say no tonight?
We will have to build our own sewer treatment plant.
That's it.
Why,
So why can't
why can't Mr.
they
Peters-
why can't they just stay connected up to that system they are and let him have the customers and everything else?
Thank you.
You could do that, but it's been my appreciation that you just paid $4.5 million for a line that you aren't going to use.
We'll never
I
get
guess you
that
could-
back, one way or
You're going
another.
to allow him to use that.
And give him $360,000.
Well, I would
No.
just like to
No, we
know,
wouldn't pay him anything if we built our own
We
plant.
talked
Or
about,
we
no,
gave
I'm
him the
talking about-
customers.
we talked about some circumstances before in other meetings that we, about even the line, is that we can't use a public money to run a private line. There's been other proposals that has came in front of us, okay? That if we build this and somebody hooks on, this is our line, those are our customers, we're paying for, the proposal tonight is to pay for a tie-in for so much cost per thousand usage.
well, I would assume though we could have some kind of agreement if, and I'm late to the party, we could have some kind of agreement whereby he could use that line and keep those customers and he, it treats the sewer.
It wouldn't be as good, I don't think it would be as good of a deal, but y'all can make, of course, y'all are the elected officials, you can make whatever deal you like,
Yeah.
sir.
Well, I mean, we're gonna pay $370,000. How long would it take for us to get that back?
I don't know, I didn't run the numbers, but I'm gonna tell you this, as he's been working on it for several months, and so has our legal team, Tim Hardy and them, and the administration, to try to quantify the numbers of what AWT,
I mean, I don't
Invested to-
dispute those numbers and that capacity is not, it's in line with what we did in Dawsonville.
right,
I'm just saying, what's the alternative of, of just leaving things as they are and not taking those customers? Honestly, I don't see us getting much return at $42 a month and we paying him $350 to treat.
well, I don't have those numbers in my head right now, sir, okay?
Well, I think the customers are more valuable than the 300,000. That's my personal opinion. That's why I'm bringing you this contract.
Well, I mean, if I just do some rough numbers and say, we paying, what do you say, 26, and we get 42, so just use those rough numbers and say we make $16 a month, but that's no billing cost or any other cost associated with
The
that.
costs are in the contract for the water there. It's pretty negative.
Even the cost to bill?
And we ought to, yes, sir, and we ought to be, I'm not sure what the billing is. It's, I can't recall, but when the new ERP system's in, we'll take over the billing ourselves.
So you're looking at, and I don't know, I'm just saying 200 because I saw 207 in here for somewhere. So that's $2,000 to $3,000 a month in the best case scenario. And we're talking about $300 or $400,000, $36,000 a year. You have a hard. I would. That sounds like some investment I would make. It's
No, I mean, I think
didn't turn out very
you
good.
make about $60,000 a year, and you keep all your assets, which are the customers. And if you have the opportunity, and hopefully in the near future we will, or in the intermediate future, to have our own sewer treatment plant, then you retain your asset and you're making
We
money.
know that's not so.
I mean, in economics, this is a money forward economics, and you make money going forward. So to me, that's what you would do. This is no different. I mean, I was in the oil and gas industry.
Hey,
You drill a bad well, but if you go ahead and complete it, you make a little money every month. So it's just the cost of the completion at that point in time.
Money forward economics.
I've asked, I'm finished with that round of questions.
Let me just say this here right now.
Mr.
I'm gonna say
Joe.
this right now.
Thank you.
You can do what you want in AWT, whatever, but the bottom line is, DEQ gonna come here and say, we don't have a plan, we don't have it, and AWT can walk away and say, guess what, parish government, citizens of the parish, you're on your own. And we done just gave all our assets
Yeah, we've been hearing that.
away.
We've been hearing that for 6 years, too.
Okay, Doc, but you know what? Sometimes it take 10 years,
Yeah.
but that day coming.
Well, is it my turn yet?
Oh, but y'all can give away the assets, go ahead, but I ain't gonna be part of that, me.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Yes, Mr. Sadly.
Y'all heard of the public-private partnership?
Yes,
A
sir.
group called Ascension Environmental. A member of that was Mr. Pertwee in AWT, as I said, left us at the altar. There is no incentive for him to ever, unless we're willing to pay the price for his assets, to not continue to do deals like this, be it a 2015 deal or today's 2018 deal. And this idea of having to use pipes because in the ground, as Councilman Dawson said, that's already spilt milk. That's spent money. I'm not interested, though, in spending other monies that I don't think we have to do and would be unwise in doing. I'd like to, Mr. Chairman, put 3 comments into the record that I wasn't, but now I'm compelled to do so.
You got it.
One of my constituents writes, Doc, this is a private company. If they do this, I want my driveway paved for the next 40 years with parish upkeep and with me remaining the owner of my driveway. And in my crystal ball, maybe in the next 100 years or so, I will sell this to Ascension Parish. But my crystal ball isn't working that far out right now, so go ahead and pave my driveway. Person responds to that. Me too. In fact, pave all 900 feet of Gold Place Road for me. Another person writes, why are public parish funds even being asked to pay or reimburse a privately owned company for providing services to a private subdivision development? This is a matter between 2 private companies, and by that I assume the person meant that the developer and however that happened, and now a sewer company. So why are public funds being considered or even requested? I wish that my obligations allowed me to attend a meeting tonight, but because that's the question I would like to ask. The possibility of parish purchasing the utility in the future sometime has nothing to do with today. Today, the relevant parties are privately owned, all capitalized, privately owned, and should not receive public funding. Another person writes, this is a bottomless pit. Quit spending our taxpayer money on this. They're mad already, and when they get that bill tomorrow morning, okay, and I ain't worried about election come 2019, but I'm just going to tell them, send them all to you.
To me?
Yes, sir. And since
you.
you're endorsing this and say, explain to these people how we're spending these taxpayer dollars on this private asset. Because I, as I said before, using Ms. Castle's words, cannot get my arms around this. I mean, has there been even talk that we could brush our knuckles together? Or, like I say, or buying this particular asset if you also heck meant on using those pipes so we would have not a tertiary treatment plant, but at least a plant inside of a subdivision if the customs are so valuable and everything else? I mean, come on, guys, this is just really out of hand. I mean, this is no solution to our sewer problem in this parish.
If I would have brought you a proposal to buy his plant, you would have received it with equally unwelcoming comments, sir. And I don't think you would want to buy the plant.
Well, then I say we do nothing.
I don't know how you can do that.
We can't do nothing.
I disagree with that. I think we just went over that from Mr. Dawson's questions.
Well, do nothing means that they won't have any sewer.
I make the motion that we approve the agreement. If I get a second, hey, I'm done,
I'm done talking to you.
so.
I'm saddened that some of you guys not fully getting, and, you know, I agree with you, Doc, that getting the history of this particular thing here. But that's the bottom line is that we've got customers out there, been receiving service from a private company with a handshake agreement from the parish, okay? All right? You may even have a signed agreement, I don't know. But I'm saying this agreement is about the third round coming in front of us, but it's coming in front of us to try to solve this problem. We do have the latitude to, at any future date, hook our pipes and go in our direction, all right? We also have the latitude within this committee to look at our rules and regulations around the parish to govern the sewer. So it is what it is. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
So, I mean, I know this has been around for a long time, and, you know, I feel like there's some things that are missing. I think the CEA from 2015, I would have been more comfortable if Tim Hardy and those lawyers had been here, because, you know, I think there are some questions about, you know, predating the contract. And, you know, my preference is to bring it back here one more time, and let's have the CEA here. Let's have an answer to what happens if you say no.
Well, yeah, and I don't disagree with you, but just as a member of an 11-person council, I think you're going to have this same discussion at the council, the full council, okay? So.
Well, I mean, we got I know we have the council meeting next week, and I don't know the availability of everybody or getting the stuff together. I'm not convinced that this is the right thing to do myself personally. I may vote to, you know, or at least see it go to the council so all 11 people can decide, but I do think that there should be some more information here available.
Mm-hmm.
So that's,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, that's a big,
We have
And
a
I
motion.
don't, I
Do we
don't,
have a second?
yes, and we have a motion.
We
do
have a
not
second.
We do not have a second yet, sir, not unless Mr. Dawson, I think you had said, and he didn't mind it going to the council. Is that a second? Do I have a second from anybody? Or does it fail?
my preference is that it comes back here next month with additional information. Now, I realize you've gone through this 2 or 3 times. I understand that, but really, I think there's some questions about, you know, signing something that's a year old.
I've been fighting this for years, so I'm
No,
I'm
listen,
good with another month.
I know
I'm good
this.
with another
Look,
month.
we
It's
got
not gonna be ordered out of me.
we got handed a big stinky pile. There's no question about it.
Okay.
And you know, so I'd like to at least have a enumeration of our alternatives.
So be it. Motion fails for lack of second, sir.
Fine.
What I would ask of you is the prior agreement
Yes, sir, I can have that.
and have our legal here
I will have Mr.
Mr.
Hardy here
Hardy?
as well.
and Mr. Dawson, Mr. Ken Dawson. I think he had some emergency. He had to leave.
Kids, yeah.
Okay, with his family. But we have some consonants of people that's been involved in this for a long time, okay?
Yeah, well, and I'm filling in for Benny. He's been involved in this for
Yeah.
a lot longer than me.
Yeah, and I think Mr. Johnson had said, I'm not gonna speak for him, but he sat in a lot of meetings and did a lot of research on this.
Right.
And, you know, he understood what was coming forward tonight. He just couldn't be here because he worked. So there you have it, sir.
You'll bring it back next
You
month?
got your marching orders. Bring it back next month. I
I'll-
just want to.
I will
once
be here.
again, I want to once again have everybody understand, because it seemed like some revelations here between this committee that those customers are ours, and they're being serviced.
I don't
Okay.
think this should delay us in charging them.
Well,
Well, I don't know. I mean, if
I
we're
don't
not
feel-
gonna, if we're gonna leave the customers, you know, give him the customers, maybe we shouldn't, but
I don't know how you can charge them without a signed agreement.
yeah,
I don't know. I
I,
mean, those are, if Tim was here, we'd certainly ask him those questions.
They've been asked.
Yeah.
all those questions have been asked, we just don't have the
No, no,
people that
absolutely.
answer them right here in front of us. With that, we'll move on to agenda item number 13. The chair would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, Mr.
We have a
Chairman.
motion from Mr. Oliver Joseph. Do I have a second, Mr. Sadler? Second, Mr. Turner. We are adjourned.
Can I